This is a scary story, and as scary stories go, it does have a few predictable but the strength here is in the writing, particularly the atmosphere and tone. Stories like this are more horror than gore, relying on suggestion rather than jump scares or explicit detail. This helps it to keep its creepiness long after the story is ended, and it leaves us with unsettling images like those fingerprints on the window or her co-worker's confused comment about her blinking. But beyond the surface level stuff, there's also some pretty clever world building going on here. We can assume that this story takes place in an Arab country because the author mentions things like the which is a prayer bead used by Muslims, and it has that folklore feel to it. The author incorporates religious elements, but not in a preachy or heavy-handed way. They use them to add another layer of dread and unease. For example, the main character Layla goes to see her aunt because she knows about Ruq, which is a form of Islamic spiritual healing. And the whole idea of jinn, these supernatural beings that can inhabit people or objects, it adds this extra element of mystery. It's not just a psychological horror story. There might actually be a supernatural force at play, and it really makes you think about the nature of identity, specifically how fragile it is, how easily it can be taken or twisted by outside forces. For most of the story, we experience it through Layla's perspective, which makes it all the more unnerving. But once she falls into the mirror world, we get a glimpse of the situation from another angle, which adds a lot to the story. It shows us the extent to which this being has invaded Layla's life, how deeply it's affected her identity, and it also reveals the main character's inner strength. Layla is far from perfect. She gets scared, she makes mistakes, but ultimately, she confronts her problems head. She doesn't give up. She fights back using her religion and her personal beliefs. And although the story ends with a sense of uncertainty, it also gives us hope. The ending is both haunting and thought-provoking. By leaving things unresolved, the author forces us to confront our deepest fears and question the nature of reality. And the final image of Layla continuing to smile even after her reflection was destroyed, well, that's just plain creepy. Now, if you found this story intriguing, I highly recommend checking out more content. There are plenty of similar stories out there that explore similar themes and ideas. Plus, with a new story posted every single week, you'll always have something fresh and exciting to look forward to. And if you want to support the channel while you're at it, well, that would be amazing. But let's get back to the story. This is part 6 of 8. Prologue. It started with a dream. But dreams, as we all know, are not always just dreams. Sometimes they're warnings. Sometimes they're invitations. And sometimes they're her way of trying to come through. This is the story of Layla, a young woman who began seeing herself in her sleep, but not as she knew herself. The face that stared back at her was hers. Yes, but twisted. Wrong, smiling when she didn't want to smile. Whispering things she never said. And worst of all, watching her even after she woke up. Chapter 1. The reflection that wasn't mine. Layla lived alone in an old apartment on the 3rd floor of a building that had seen better days. She worked late shifts at a call center and often slept past noon. One night, she dreamed of standing in front of a mirror. But the reflection staring back wasn't quite her. Her eyes were hollow. Her lips curled into a grin too wide to be human. And then it spoke. "You look so peaceful when you sleep. I wear your face now." Layla woke up screaming. Her room was dark, save for the faint glow of her phone screen. She stumbled to the bathroom, still shaken, and turned on the light. In the mirror, she saw herself, normal again, but something felt off, like the reflection was delayed. She blinked. The girl in the mirror blinked a second later. She stepped closer, so did the reflection. And then, just for a heartbeat, it smiled. While Layla remained still. Chapter 2. Whispers in the dark. The dreams continued. Each night, the same scene, the mirror, the smile, the whisper. "I wear your face when you sleep soon." The whispers followed her into waking life. At work, she'd hear her own voice saying things she hadn't said. Once he heard someone laughing in the break room, her laugh, but she was alone. One day she returned home to find the window open, even though she always locked it. On the glass, there were fingerprints. Small, delicate ones. Exactly like hers. Chapter 3. The mirror cracks open. That night, Layla decided to cover the mirror. She taped a sheet over it and placed her mother's tasbih beside her bed. Still, she couldn't escape the dream. This time, she stood in total darkness. The mirror appeared from nowhere, floating midair. Behind it, a figure emerged, her face, but stretched, distorted, eyes glowing like embers. "Why hide from me?" it whispered. "I'm only borrowing what's already mine." Layla tried to scream, but no sound came out. She reached out, touched the glass, and pulled. The mirror shattered. But instead of glass falling to the floor, she fell through. Chapter 4. She wears your face now. Layla woke up the next morning, disoriented. Her head hurt. Her body felt stiff. She looked around the room and everything seemed normal, until she saw the mirror. The sheet was gone, and the girl inside was smiling. No, it was her. Except, she wasn't moving. The reflection was. She screamed. The reflection didn't. She backed away. The reflection stepped forward. Panic set in. She grabbed her phone and called her aunt. No answer. She ran to the door and froze. There, On the other side of the peephole was a face. Her face, smiling, waiting. Chapter 5. The Final Prayer. Layla collapsed to her knees, trembling. She wrapped herself in her shawl and began reciting Surah Ikhlas, then Ayat al-Kursi, then the Mu'awwidhatayn. Tears streamed down her face. Suddenly, the lights flickered violently. The mirror cracked again, this time from the inside. Then silent she opened her eyes. She was still in the same room. The mirror was broken. Her face was still intact, but something was different. She could feel it. Epilogue, a new reflection. A few days passed. Layla returned to work. Her co-workers noticed nothing strange. She smiled, laughed, acted normal, until one of them said, "Hey Layla, why don't you blink when you talk?" She didn't respond, just smiled, a little too wide. Final words. "So tell me, when you close your eyes tonight, are you sure it's you who will wake up in the morning, or is there something waiting behind your eyelids? Something that wears your face when you sleep?"